In this chapter of One Piece, Gaban finally shows us what he's really capable of. The cover page of One Piece chapter 1148, titled Ronja, features Yamato saying farewell to Tama, Speed, Raizo, and Komachio. Ulti and Page 1 have officially accepted Yamato as their new lord. Now the three are headed to Hakumai to deliver an Amigasa hat to Kawamatsu. On Branch 8, Ronja was selected from the lineup and forced to walk along an arrow over the ledge. Yova called out to her in alarm. Ronja wasn't sure what was happening with her legs, but cheerfully assured her friend that it would be alright. The optimism she showed us in the last chapter hasn't faded at all. But that didn't change the fact that she was still standing above the clouds. The young giant was having trouble breathing as her friends begged her to turn back, because below her was the realm of the dead. On that note, hopefully Luffy and Loki are still full from all that groggy-saurus. That way, there's a chance of their falls being cushioned. Gunko let Summers know that the first child was at the drop point. The sadistic saint told her to make sure all of Elbaf would be able to hear her. With that, he urged Elder Ja Rule to make up his mind in 30 seconds, otherwise, the sacrifices would begin. The only way to save them would be to order the teachers to burn the Walrus School and the Owl Library. By now, the giants were beyond restless. Many of them called out to the Elder. One reminded him of the library's contents that date back several millennia. But to another, that was nothing compared to the lives of the hostages. Someone else insisted that they consider the bigger picture. Like the madman said, the world government intends to use the giants of Elbaf as their weapons of war. Even still, the children were in danger right now. So many believed that they needed to be saved regardless. No matter how you looked at it, this situation was really messed up. Meanwhile, in Saul's beard, Robin told Chopper not to follow her. The mascot was shocked. Robin didn't want them to fight God's Knights without having a better understanding of their abilities. But if that was the case, Chopper wondered why Robin was doing otherwise. Really, she just couldn't control her emotions anymore. After all, this is all traumatically reminiscent of what happened on Ohara. Nami shouted at Saint Summers as his living vine snaked past them. According to her, not even the worst of the worst would be low enough to use kids as hostages. Summers seemed to enjoy her outburst, but he placed no value in the qualms of bugs. And wow, Gunko straight up mummified Brook after he rejected her. Elsewhere, Ripley told Frankie that she'd be joining him. He agreed, and she was already racing past him. If she's not holding him anymore, then he must have some other means of traveling quickly. That's probably why his back is facing her. The giant warrior pirates would be doing the same. They planned on splitting into two different groups, one for monster slayers and another for children savers. And they were far from the only band of giants who were arming themselves. Another branch was already on their way with a cloud ship. While they were all in transit, Summers added the stipulation that once the school and library have been set ablaze, the giants aren't allowed to salvage even a single book. The reason was simple. They intended for certain things to burn, namely Elbaf's culture and history. Just as he said that, Robin produced a massive limb and went on the attack. With a mean hit to the jaw, she made the dagger of the Holy Land bleed. Summers hit the ground face first. The Straw Hats were happy to see Robin. Jinbei warned his friend that they still don't know what God's Knights can really do. But Robin's thoughts were already in the same place. Chopper shifted nervously as he watched. Several hands appeared all over the Saint's body. He recognized the infamous Devil Child and began to say her name. But a vicious clutch shut him up quick. Nami was ecstatic. No comments about overkill this time, but as far as Usopp could tell, Robin snapped the creep in half. But even so, Saul warned her about the man's immortality, so she was still on guard. As Saint Summers picked himself up and sorted his body out, he reminded Elbaf that they have 20 seconds remaining. Usopp was freaked out after seeing yet another celestial zombie. Saint Summers didn't expect what came next. Robin leapt onto the knight and coiled several sets of arms around him. Summers wondered what she was up to, and if she had a crush on him or something. Then he realized what the pirate was doing. Robin leapt off the edge of Branch 8, giving the monster a taste of what he was putting the children through. Summers asked if she was insane. Even if she's super into him, he refuses to die with her. Robin lets Summers know that she's aware of his immortality and the fact that he ate the thorn devil fruit. Ultimately, his invisible thorns are a major hurdle when it comes to saving the children, especially since the pain scales according to how much the victims care about the hostage. So as long as he's around, it doesn't matter how many reinforcements show up. Now Summers understood. Robin made this desperate jump in order to take the children out of his range. Thorns jutted out of his body and into hers. He complimented her cleverness as she cried out. But although he pierced her skull, something was off. That expression of hers didn't exactly scream death by thorns. Now he saw that it was just a clone. Summers couldn't believe she was gone. Robin clearly planned several steps ahead. And I really like that this is a battle between petals and thorns. Nami was going full fangirl as she praised Robin. Robin tried to cut their bindings, but the arrows wouldn't budge. Surprisingly, Usopp was actually rearing for a rematch against Gunko for their freedom. Jinbei huffed. Listen man, we're still praying for Usopp to shine during this arc. So if he really wants to smoke, and thinks he can beat one of God's knights with his hands tied behind his back, then more power to him. As for Brook, it wasn't so clear at first, but his mouth has been covered up too. So for now, he has no way of telling the others how he knows Gunko. It's interesting that the Straw Hats believed that was the real Robin who jumped off, despite her now being behind them. Also, perhaps the biggest weakness of her devil fruit was the fact that damage done to her projected limbs was shared by her real body. But despite being skewered all over and crying out from the pain, the real Robin is totally unharmed. I don't remember her explicitly getting over that, so if you have any ideas why this might be, please help me understand. Meanwhile, despite his predicament, Saint Summers still managed to tell Elder Ja Rule that he only has 10 seconds remaining. He plunged one of his vines into the 8th branch. As he grappled his way up, Saint Summers longed for an answer. He told Gunko to let them hear the child's voice. As instructed, she ordered Ronja to speak up. Trembling, the little giant spoke to Elder Ja Rule. Her friends cried out her name. Ronja continued to say that she loves school and has many friends there. Her father was crying as he marched towards the branch with many others in tow. Old Mountain Beard was heartbroken. Ronja also shared her love for the library, how they're able to learn so much about the world from its books, and that their teachers always make sure they learn important things. Nami's heart was breaking too. Their teachers taught them not to cause trouble for others and not to do things that others hate. Anj was sobbing. Ronja knew how terrible it would be for them to lose the school and the library, and how much everyone would hate that. If that's the cost of saving her, then Ronja believes that it would be better if she just fell. She told the elder not to worry. Now, both he and Colin were crying. Ronja was crying too. But with a smile on her face, she claimed that she's always been lucky. So she's sure she'll be okay. Again, Luffy and Loki, I'm counting on you two to still be fat down there. With a huge smile on his face, Saint Summers counted to 2. And I just realized the anime will be turning these 30 seconds into a whole episode. The Giants were having a collective breakdown. Then Summers counted to 1. Begrudgingly, but with conviction, Elder Ja Rule told Anj to burn down the school. And he asked that the same be done to the library as well. And I kind of feel like we were shown the interior of the library here to remind us that this owl does exist. Anj was horrified, but complied. A big tear escaped Saul's eye. Robin began to cry too, now on the verge of witnessing the greatest tragedy of her life for the second time. And that left her open to attack as Summers bound her in thorns and went up to back with his black thorn blade. The look on Robin's face was like candy to him. The Straw Hats could only beg him to stop. But just then, a swift figure bounded over a branch and onto the battlefield. In an instant, the Celestial Dragon's arm had been severed before anyone knew what happened. Summers looked down at the stump in a trembling panic. His arm wasn't growing back. And then he had bubble guts the moment he heard his attacker's greeting. The god was downright terrified of Scopper Gaban. And Gaban carved across the dragon's chest with his hockey-coated axe. Gaban is here, and finally, he is serious. Oh man, he looks insanely cool. But tell me, is this an Avengers Endgame moment we have right here? I mean, come on, we're on an island based on Norse mythology, and the bearded warrior with a lightning-producing axe just cut into the villain instead of going for the head. That said, I understand the play. Killing one of God's knights might just prematurely spark a world war. But he messed with your kid, so you gotta do a bit more than just beat him with aura farming like Rayleigh on Amazon Lily. Now interestingly, when Gaban first attacked, Summers lost his left arm. But when he looked at the stump, his right arm was missing. Then when we see it again, his right arm is missing again. So which hand did he lose? The editors for this series have been letting a lot of errors slip through with this arc. There were a bunch of visual inconsistencies in the block country. And even Nami's tattoo has been forgotten a few times now. Between the live action series and a LEGO collaboration, Oda's been extra busy lately. So I hope the editors can better adapt and help him catch these things in the future. Regardless, I'm expecting the loss of Saint Summer's hand to be permanent. I say this because despite his immortality, even Jupiter of the Five Elders has a scar on his neck. That said, the guy's thorns seem to be very capable, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to make a useful prosthetic to replace it. General rule with these sorts of stories, losing an eye or an arm is almost always a free or safe injury. They're not debilitating, the character can look cooler, and they're easy to replace or make up for with cool powers. As for the counter to immortality, is it really just a black blade? If so, that's a funny way of getting the crew to use hockey. Technically, Usopp, Brook, and Nami all use weapons, and none of them use armament hockey, and certainly not on that level. While learning hockey or being taught by a crewmate who knows it sounds like a no-brainer to most, the weaker members of the Straw Hats have never had such a blatant reason to learn. And even if this somehow still isn't the time for them, we can still hope that Jinbei will improve. He at least seems to be fully committed to overcoming that hurdle. And thinking about it now, back on Egghead, Nooshjuro, a fellow sword wielder, was the only elder that Zoro was able to fight against. So it's funny to imagine he would have been a menace against any of the other four because of his black blades. I'm sure you guys have plenty to say about this immortality counter, so don't be shy and let it fly in the comments. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku, thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.